Haha! Happy Halloween time! Once again, I got a cool Halloween themed record for you. Something a little oddball, a little spooky. This time though, more on the kind of the upbeat, happy end of it, more Haunted House of Rock than Flatliners. And this one I think is kind of interesting, kind of cool, because it's pretty damn obscure. I wouldn't be surprised if absolutely none of you guys watching this had ever heard of it before. So I'm definitely introducing it to you, a lot of you, if not all of you. Little record called The Thing by Family. So as you can see, this is obviously a 45, and that's the only way this is available, is just sort of an obscure indie 45, which tells you something right there. This is very old school, because all the way back to 1984, and it's on a label called Royce Records, which is out of Oaktown, California. Apart from that, though, there's basically no information out there about this record. I know the family is specifically the Geddens family, only because it's actually in there in the writings credit. And this is kind of a crazy, weird, again, 1984, so sort of the disco kind of theme, still hip-hop, much more in the lines of, like, the Treacherous 3, Sugar Hill Gang than something like Run DMC or even Houdini or something like that, with lots of live music, which really helps, which really makes it kind of funky and fun. They're called Family, that's all they're billed as, but it's really basically just one guy rapping through the whole thing. There are some girls singing on the chorus, so maybe they're part of the family, presumably. Maybe actually the band are part of the family. Could definitely be sort of like one of those kind of nucleus kind of deals, where they had the kids and the women playing instruments and stuff like that, and basically the male rappers, except it's just one male rapper this time. But whatever it is one guy rapping about The Thing, and this is not The Thing from Addams Family. It might sort of be The Thing from John Carpenter movie / a remake of Howard Hawks, because 1984 would have put it right at the time when The Thing had kind of come out in theaters and been a big deal. And I say that because lyrically it kind of fits. The Thing is a thing from outer space, which is, of course, the original title of the original Howard Hawks version, because John Carpenter's movie from the 80s is a remake of the 50s version. And it's not quite a shapeshifter monster, but it's certainly a weird kind of movie. He describes it as having like 2 heads, 4 arms, 4 eyes, so it's definitely a strange kind of crazy monster. And he says things like, The Thing, what do you want me to be? Which, is just sort of like The Thing, how it took people over and cloned them and did all that weird stuff. If you're familiar with the movie, of course, absolutely. And if you're not, then it's going to be hard to describe. So go watch the movie, The Thing. But it also might not be The Thing. I mean, it's so kind of vague, and the connections are tenuous at best. That's kind of as much of a connection as there is. It's from a spaceship, it comes down, it wants to do some sort of weird assimilation thing with the narrative rapper, and that's about it. So maybe it's a thing, maybe it's just a coincidence, and it's just about a strange, crazy alien monster called The Thing. So again, this is the only record I've heard of from the family, or that I could find. I have done some searching online about the label, Royce Records, about Getting Family, all that kind of stuff. Can't find any information, so who knows? Definitely kind of a strange mystery. But, okay, one thing that is interesting about this is now almost all hip-hop records, rap records, and lots of disco records, all kinds of records that came out in the early 80s and the 70s and stuff like that would have a part 1 and a part 2 on the B-side. And invariably, part 2 is the instrumental. You'd see something like Super Rappin', or, It's the Breaks by Curtis Blow or something. You think, oh, wow, The Breaks part 2? I never knew that existed. You'd see it on a compilation or something, and it's just the instrumental. It's, But in this case, this does have a part 2 on the B-side, but it's not just the instrumental. It actually continues the story. The whole thing is sort of a narrative about he comes down, he sees this spaceship comes down, and the monster comes out and scares him, and he's like, oh, what do you want from me? And he says, like, stay still, boy, and see. And that's actually the hook of the song, and then the girls sing that, stay still, boy, and see. And it's kind of a crazy song. And so it's a narrative how it captures him, and it fondles him, and it gets a little weird. And then it starts talking about, maybe I'll take you to my home planet, you have to help me get home, which is probably a reference maybe to sort of E.T., but this is definitely a scary alien, not an E.T. alien. And so the song kind of ends mid-narrative. He's captured by the alien, you think that's it. You flip it over, and there's some more, although I have to say, even with part 2, there's not really a conclusive ending to the narrative. There's nothing like he beats the alien, or the alien eats him, or takes him to his planet. It's just sort of some more with the alien. Some more negotiation, I guess. What really sells this, though, is that instrumentally, it's really pretty good. It's kind of got the Peter Gunn bass line kind of hidden in there. And just a lot of funky live instrumentation, which kind of keeps it, hip-hop, one problem with a lot of hip-hop is that it gets very redundant. You make a loop and it starts at the beginning, and then it just loops and loops and loops until 4 or 5 minutes into the song. Now, good producers obviously add more change-ups and more layers, and sometimes one element will start and another one will stop, and more basic hip-hop producers would just let that loop go from beginning to end. This, though, because it's live music, again, like the disco era stuff, even though they do, like all pop music, it is based on loops, it's still ever-changing, and there's constant little variations and twists and changes going on in there, which definitely makes it a lot more alive and a lot more interesting. So that's one of the cool things about this record. And it's much as there isn't really a conclusion to the rap, which is kind of disappointing, it is a fun narrative. It is a weird, bizarre monster. The guy rapping is actually pretty good. He's got a good voice for it, and he's got a kind of a good flow. It's very old school, of course, but it's not like all old school hip hop is made equal. And, this guy's no Grandmaster Caz or something, but for like a novelty record, he's actually pretty good. Again, there's really no information to impart about this record because there's no information out there. If anybody actually knows anything, please, post in the comments and let me know, because I'd love to find out if there's another record, if this is actually meant to be a reference to the Thing, because even though he's not rapping really about the Thing in the John Carpenter movie, again, 1984, the Thing would have been out there, so he definitely could have been inspired by that. He could have been seeing movie posters for the Thing and then just kind of come up with his own thing or whatever. So I definitely would love to find out all about this. It's a huge mystery, but at least not a total mystery, because of course I'm going to let you hear it right now. So happy Halloween, guys. Here's a kind of a horror-themed hip-hop song you've probably never heard before. The Thing, Part 1, on Royce Records, 1984, by Family. Again, who are technically the Geddens family, according to the writing credits. So here we go.
He jammed me inside with a little ray gun. I said, hey, Mr. Thing, what you want with me? And that boy, wait, see. Oh, no! Wait and see. That's what that thing said to me. Just the devil. Wait and see. He was a double thing, living a double life. Everything we had once, the Thing had it twice. It's a thing in a spaceship. 4 great big guys, 2 big nose. 4 great big feet and 20 toes. It's a thing in a spaceship. 4 big old hands and 2 big chins. 2 sets of teeth for every